Hey, it's Maryanne. Welcome back to another episode of The Influential Nonprofit, the podcast for nonprofit leaders who want to raise more money and have more impact without feeling like they're begging or pushing, because who wants to do that? And we're talking about today, I want to talk to you about the voices in your head. Like, what? Yes, those voices in your head. You know, that voice that says, go for it, ask for the gift. And then 2 seconds later, that voice that says, no, don't ask for the gift. What if they say no? And you just want to hide under your desk and pretend like nothing is happening. Those are the voices in your head, and they control more than you think you do. And those voices aren't you, but they're different parts of you. And there are parts of you that are coming out, the confident part, the scared part, the excited part, the afraid part. They're all parts of you. And understanding these parts and how they work and how they function can totally transform your fundraising. Sometimes people call these parts sub-personalities, and it might sound a little woo or wacky, and actually, I don't care. Because let me tell you, this is the real reason why you feel so blocked, burnt out, or avoidant. And remember, I've talked to this a lot, but fundraising at its core is an inside out game. Okay. What you put out is what you're going to get back. And if you're putting out fear, you're going to get back fear. So how do you do that? How do you change your energy? How do you show up in a more effective way? This is what we're going to talk about. However, maybe if you can think about it, you sent wrote a really amazing email and a beautiful appeal, and then you just never sent it. You scheduled a major gift meeting and suddenly felt sick, or rescheduled it for later, or a big donor emails you and you hesitate to respond because you're not really sure what to say, or you like subconsciously miss the email or forget. You said yes to hosting an event that you don't want to do because it felt easier than saying no. That's a big one, right? You'll just do something because it's easier than saying no. This isn't indecisiveness, this is internal conflict. And these are just different parts of you who are trying to lead the show. It's like if all of your sub personalities were on a bus, there's somebody wrestling to drive the bus, and they're in conflict with each other. And you really can only have one person be driving the bus. Okay, so here's the deal. You are not one solid, singular identity. You are beautiful, complex. You are have desires, fears, strategies. And remember, we can hold space for a lot of things to be true at the same time. I can be confident and fearful. I can be smart and not smart and dumb. I can be kind and I can be mean. I can be all of those things because they're all parts of me. They're all parts of me. They're all a sub personality and they're all equally valid. The idea here is to understand and consciously choose what part of you gets to lead at what time. And this whole theory is based on something called internal family system, or IFS. You don't need to be a therapist to use it. I don't need to be a therapist to share it with you. It's just understanding the parts of you and how they show up and how they work, how they show up together. Your confident part, your scared part, your perfectionist part, your people pleasing part. A long time ago, these parts were formed to help you survive, to be liked, to get love, to avoid shame, to achieve success, whatever you needed at the time, typically in childhood. And when you're fundraising, which is sometimes scary, it can be scary, speaking up, being visible, these parts can get activated in really sneaky ways because you become fearful. And then these parts of you that were designed to keep you safe, keep you liked, right? To keep you from shame, then will show up and sometimes unknowingly sabotage what you're trying to do. They're actually trying to help you, and they really aren't, or they, unless you're conscious of them, right? So the big idea here is that your subpersonalities are not on the same page. When your subpersonalities aren't on the same page, your influence suffers because your energy is scattered, you're in internal conflict, and people can pick up on that. Even if your words are perfect, your presence doesn't land. And this is something I talk about so much. We think about if I only had the right words. People want, I'm a words person. You know that I'm a writer. I'm a creative. I love words. I made my living off words. But I know that energy speaks louder than words. And I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million times more. Energy speaks louder than words. And most of us really want to get the words right, and we're not thinking about the energy, how we're going to show up and what that looks like, and what the energy that we're bringing into the conversation, because I can tell you that it doesn't matter what words you have if your energy is off. Our subconscious is that a word? Our subconscious is very, very powerful tool, and it is auto-programmed to pick up on cues incredibly quickly. It was part of our way that we survived, thousands of years ago. But now it's part of, we can pick up on cues and not be conscious of them. So we're feeling like you may be, or somebody may be feeling like this isn't right, or this doesn't feel right, or I don't like this, but they don't know why and they can't articulate why, because it's not conscious, it's subconscious. Let me tell you like how I got into this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of what sub personalities there are so you can kind of inventory them in your head. And then I'm going to share with you like how we manage them and how you can learn to be in alignment so that all of these parts of you can work together instead of fighting with each other. It's like your family's having a dispute, or like your team, like you have a team inside you. We talk about, our external team, but you have a team inside you that can be activated to all work together for your benefit, or they can all work separately for your detriment. And I have worked with many, many, many leaders and so many competent, amazing people. And when it comes to fundraising, they freeze or stall or overfunction, or they just burn out. And when I started to dig deeper about what this was, because people wanted the strategy to fix this, right? If I just had the right appeal letter, if I just had the right magic words or magic combination of words, or the perfect amount of donor communication, or the most perfect ask, then I could, then it would all work out. I had that magic wand. But when you dig deeper, it's not about the external, it's about the internal. And there's some part of you that's trying to protect you from something scary. Rejection, shame, failure, conflict, discomfort, being too much. I can talk a lot about that. And it's not because they were bad at fundraising, it's because they were fundraising from fear, not alignment. And this is a lot of me as well. Like I came into this, there was a part of me that wanted to be liked, like really liked. I was a people pleaser, and um I used to want to have people like me, and I thought if somebody liked me, they would do what I want. And I really like I used to I didn't always ask for what I wanted. I always over delivered, and I avoided uncomfortable situations because I wanted to be liked. If I would go to a party and there was 100 people there and 90 people liked me and 10 didn't, I would think about the 10 that didn't like me the whole time. I was overly I was overly in need of praise and terrified of criticism because of that, because I wanted to be liked. Because if I wasn't liked, there was something in me that sub-personality that would come out, and I didn't want that to come out. I am also, if you haven't noticed, a bit of a rebel. And I like my rebel part. I love my rebel. And that's a sub-personality that I have. And I know you like the rebel, right? And I talk about things that other people don't talk about, and I talk about them in a way that other people don't talk about them. And I like that about me. Yet my rebel doesn't always get to drive the bus because she would drive it right off a cliff. Okay. So I don't want any of these parts of you to go away. The part of me that wants to be liked, that's a good part of me, because it's okay to want to be liked. It's okay to want people to like you, but she just doesn't get to drive the bus. Okay. It's okay to have a rebel. It's okay to have a perfectionist. All of those parts of you are important and nothing is broken. Nothing needs to be replaced or banished off the bus. We just have to think about who gets to drive. Who gets to drive the bus? And in my world, how we stay in alignment is if that part of you that I call it my higher self, but you can call it your grounded self, whatever that knowing, intuitive, trusting part of you, they get to drive the bus. That part of you drives the bus. And then because that part of you understands what all of these different pieces, how they can benefit you the most. Sometimes it's good for me to be the perfectionist. Sometimes it's good for me to be the pleaser. Sometimes it's good for me to be the rebel. And now I can activate all these parts of me and use them to my advantage very consciously instead of just have them sort of show up and take over and drive me off a cliff when I didn't really want it to be that way. And I bring this to you because, like I said, I have been working with this for a long time. I would say I started working with subpersonalities in 2020. And I'm going to say I am not an expert. And I am not an expert in the sense that I'm a psychologist or a therapist, but also I have been working with this concept and I think a lot about, and I work with my clients a lot about how this shows up in fundraising. So let's just play with this and let's just talk about it. So let me give you some examples of subpersonalities. And when I used to be in this coaching program with my coach, Michelle Villalobos, one time, and this was so funny. We did an exercise where we all came to uh, we all met, we all came to like a meeting dressed as a sub personality that we had. It was so funny. And we had so much fun. And then we had to run around and act like this. And then we did like skits and stuff as this personality. It was hilarious. It's like these retreats were like the weirdest, wooiest summer camp. They're very effective though. Okay, number one, I'm going to give you a list. I want you to think about these as you go along. If one clicks with you, maybe note it down. Um, not all this is not going to be like I said, not all of these subpersonalities will be a part of you. Some will be more than others, but just whatever resonates, take it. Number one is the pleaser. You want to be liked at all costs. You avoid conflict. You overpromise and you won't say no. Your fears, rejection, disapproval are being too much, and you just want everybody to be happy. And that's okay. Right? There's no judgment here. There's no criticism. This is just a part of you. Again, it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's just a part of you. It's how we intentionally activate that part that we're working on right now. Second, number two, the inner critic relentlessly judges everything you say, do, or write. You hate sending emails or making asks because it's not good enough. You may avoid deadline. You may like have a hard time with deadlines because you just don't think it's perfect enough. You may avoid submitting something because you're afraid it's going to be wrong. Your fears, failure, shame, or being exposed as a fraud. Your catchphrase would be, "That's not polished enough. Do it again." Now, again, there are times when you're inner critic that that's a great thing to have. On other times, you got to tell the inner critic, "Hey, back of the bus." Because we have to let go of the result and just get some stuff done. Number three, the hustler measures worth through productivity and a performance. Sound familiar to anybody? You're always chasing results and you struggle to rest or trust the process. Your fears of not being valued or seen as competent, but your catchphrase is more, faster, better. Go, 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 go. Get the gift, next one. Get the gift, next one. Because you see your worth as how much you do, not who you are. So if your productivity declines, then your value declines. You do not see yourself as valuable outside of your productivity. Again, sometimes it's really good to be the hustler. And sometimes we don't really want the hustler driving the bus. Number four, the martyr. You believe suffering proves commitment. Oh, Lord. Could we not talk a lot about the martyr in our nonprofit space? You're overworks, underasks, resents others' lack of sacrifice. So if other people aren't doing as much as you resent them. And your fear of being seen as selfish or lazy, and your catchphrase, if I don't do it, no one will. You have an internal, there's a part of you, the martyr part of you, that is internally wired towards suffering, and that suffering is a good thing. I remember so many years ago, I did a workshop in Chicago, and this woman was talking about how she often found herself working for nonprofits who didn't value each other or money, and they felt like suffering was like like if you weren't suffering, you weren't doing it right. And she realized that that was a value, a belief that she had, that was her sub personality that was actually getting all her jobs. No, and she was miserable. And when she realized that, then she could consciously choose something different. Number five, the avoider disappears at the first sign of discomfort. You delay, procrastinate, skip follow-ups, and you avoid hard conversations. Your fear is confrontation, rejection, or vulnerability, and your fear is, or your catchphrase, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. Now, sometimes it's okay to be the avoider. It's okay to be the avoider. That's a part of you. It can be a very helpful tool. And also it can then leave you out of important things if you're disappearing at the first sign of discomfort, or if you're constantly procrastinating. Now, I don't really believe in procrastination in a sense of that, because again, the procrastination is always about something else. And also procrastination can actually be a really helpful tool, because sometimes avoiders, like you can make that work for you. And like avoiders, like they can be really good with a deadline too, because like I'm avoiding, and then because I'm waiting to get the energy to really conquer something. So again, not good or bad, just part of you. Number six, the perfectionist. And by the way, if you're keeping score, I'm going to give you 12. So I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit. But number six is the perfectionist. You obsess over getting everything just right before acting. You hold back great ideas out of fear they're not perfect. And you feel embarrassment being criticized, failing publicly. And your catchphrase is, I can't share this. It's not ready. It's never going to be ready if you let the perfectionist lead, and you're going to have so many good ideas that fall to the wayside because you're afraid of what people may say about them. You know, you want to have everything perfect so that there's no room for criticism, because again, if you feeling criticism is feeling brings up feelings of guilt and shame, then you won't do that. And of course, criticism is just part of life, right? Number seven is the performer. I'm going to take a sip right now because I'm feeling this one. Oh yeah, this is a big part of me. The performer puts on a persona to appear competent, charming, or inspiring. Often disconnected from authenticity or emotion. I fear being boring, irrelevant, or unimpressive. Smile. Don't let them see you sweat. Good Lord, this is me. Um, I puts on a persona to appear competent, charming, or inspiring. You're putting on the show. It's your persona. You do, that is a fear of mine, being boring, irrelevant, or unimpressive. and and also it's like, don't let them see you sweat. I want part of my this sub personality that's really strong for me is I don't want anybody to see the cracks. I don't want anybody to see the sweat. If I have a party, okay, like I talk about this crawfish boil I have in my backyard, I kill myself so that like I that was probably inappropriate to say. I would say I work very, very hard to work to make sure this looks absolutely perfect. And because I want to look competent, charming, inspiring, and I don't want anybody to know that it was hard. It's just part of me. Okay, number eight, the fixer. You want to solve everyone's problems, often at their own expense. You get overly involved in donors or colleagues' issues. Your fears, powerlessness, or being seen as unhelpful. And your catchphrase is, let me handle that for you. And one of my clients, she is a pleaser. Well, part of her is a pleaser. Sometimes she's a pleaser, and she wants to solve everyone's problems, often at her own expense, and often at the expense of other people who are then robbed of the ability to learn and grow and solve their own stuff. And she would get drawn into conflicts. Hey, can you solve this for us? Can you go talk to that person? And in working with me, we learned to say, hey, I see the problem. I'm happy to help you resolve it, and and help you, reach out. But I won't be doing it for you. And she learned to step out of that, and and it's okay to be a fixer. Like it's okay to help people. But again, if we're doing it at our own expense. Number nine, the rebel. Again, ding ding, resents authority, expectations, or structure. Oh, good Lord, I feel so seen. Resist plan, strategy, or being told what to do. Fear, losing autonomy or being boxed in. Catchphrase, I'm doing it my way. Again, a lot of the what I love about me and I have built a business on is being a rebel. And I love that part about me. And also there's a part of me where like, hey, she doesn't always get to drive the bus. Number 10, the diplomat smooths everything over to keep the peace, over apologizes, avoids honest conversations with donors or staff. Your fear is conflict, tension, or rocking the boat. And your catchphrase is let's just keep things calm. So peace at all costs, the diplomat. But you know what happens when we sacrifice peace, when we put peace on a pedestal, it's eventually going to crash down and create more conflict. And so when we are so and intent on keeping things calm, we're actually creating more conflict, which I know sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it's true. And hey, again, being a diplomat is amazing. Sometimes we want to smooth things over and keep the peace. And also we did that persona, that sub-personality doesn't always get to drive because we're over apologizing, we're overextending ourselves and avoiding the honest conversations that could really drive a meaningful work. Okay, two left. Number 11, the child. You feel small, you feel scared and overwhelmed by adult responsibilities. I'm telling you, we all feel this all the time, right? We can all feel our child. You often panic during big asks or big decisions, and you fear abandonment, criticism, or being too much. I can't do this. What if they don't like me? Children, as children, we are programmed to, what do I have to do to get love, right? That's a kid. What do I have to do to get love from people? And so we become attuned to this. And this is why sometimes it's hard to navigate conflict or make the ask because we're going to break rapport because um, we're used to smoothing things over and we're used to appeasing other people because this probably got us love as children. Number 12, the strategist, highly analytical, data driven and cautious, resist emotional appeals or vulnerability, fear, looking unprofessional, being seen as irrational, and catchphrase, let's wait for more data. And a lot of times I think we have a lot of board members who sub personality as strategists and they're leading with that. But they feared looking unprofessional, being seen as irrational, aka emotional. And they resist the emotion and the vulnerability that's actually attractive to people. Again, perfectly like we need the data, we need the analytics, we need the caution. And also there's sometimes a time where you need to be vulnerable and emotional and open. Each one of these sub-personalities exists to protect you or help you succeed. But sometimes their methods can be outdated. And once you recognize the part, you can lead with compassion rather than letting it run the show, right? So again, I don't want my rebel to always drive the bus. Now, when I give a talk, I want my rebel there. When I'm speaking, my rebel is coming, right? But when I am navigating, or running my business in a certain way, like, well, she would just run herself off the cliff if she could. Okay, so how do you work with your subpersonalities? Let's talk about this. Now, if you looked at all your 12 and sort of identified, the ding, ding, dings that you're getting, because I definitely, like, I know mine. Here's a simple process, okay? Number one, notice when you get triggered. Pay attention to moments of resistance, anxiety, avoidance, like when you sit down to write an appeal and suddenly you have to reorganize your desk, or you have to now I have to, like, oh wait, let me check these emails, or oh I meant to rearrange my sock drawer or whatever. That is avoidance. And again, this, no judgment. Isn't that interesting? It's all information. This is all information. Isn't that interesting? I sat down to write this appeal. Now I'm arranging my desk. Okay. All right, let's think about that. But just notice when that happens, okay? Then name the part. Number two is name your part. Ask the self, what part of me is here right now? Is it the perfectionist, the overachiever, the voider, the martyr? Give it a name, give it a character. And you know what? Have fun with it. It's okay. We're playing with this. This again. Remember, if you can imagine this with this event that this retreat I went to, and we all ran out and we're up in the mountains. We all had to come dressed with only the things that we had and come as our persona. I remember Michelle, she came as the overachiever and she had a clipboard and all these Sharpies and she was running around keeping everyone on time. And I was the rebel and I like put on all this funky stuff. And I remember I borrowed something from one of my colleagues. Like we're running around getting clothes from each other and dressing up. And we have like a quote unquote cocktail party where we're coming as these sub personalities and then having them interact with each other. It was so funny. So you can definitely like play with this. Um, give it a name, give it a character. I could name my rebel if I wanted. I don't have an alt like okay, I don't name my sub personalities because I don't have an alter ego. And what I mean by that is this is just a little aside. I'm just going to give you a little aside. Pause for a sec. I used to be like a super fan when the Rams were in St. Louis and I got on TV and I was inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. Yes, I truly was in Canton, Ohio. And I was like, oh, you should get a persona, like all these people that are on the TV, like Arrow Man and Bone Lady. And I was like, yeah, that's not really me. I really didn't have an alter ego. I did burlesque, and a lot of people who did burlesque, like there a sub personality of them that wanted to come out. That, maybe they're this wild child, this rebel that wanted to come out. So they would give themselves burlesque names based on this part of them that wanted to come out, or the part of them that came out at the football games that didn't really come out any other time. But that is not like, I really don't, they're all parts of me are expressed. For me, the challenge was consciously choosing how they were going to show up and when they were going to show up. Okay. Because that performer, hold on. The performer that can be super, super valuable. Listen, if you're like in a situation where people are, like everybody's a little bit awkward or no one's getting to know each other, you want me there because my performer will turn on and I will put on a show and I will make either the focus me or the focus everybody else and make them all comfortable. Um, so I love that part of me. And however, like I guess for me, there wasn't like this alter ego or this sub part of me that wanted to come out that in these personas. Anyway, just a little aside. I digress. Let me start again. Number one, notice when you get triggered. Number two, name the part. Either give it one of the names that we said, the martyr, the perfectionist, or you can give it your own name, right? And then get curious, not critical. Remember, this is just information. This part is trying to help you, okay? They are really trying to protect you from guilt, shame, suffering, separateness, loneliness, whatever you think is on the other side of what could happen. So you ask yourself, what are you afraid will happen? And then ask them, what do you want from me? Right? So when when my performer comes out, what do I am afraid will be happening? Right. Well, what am I afraid? Like I'll become irrelevant or invisible. That's a huge fear of mine, especially as in like a midlife lady. Um, and then what do you want from me? Okay, well, I want you to be seen. I want you to be, I want you to be taken seriously. I want you to be noticed and honored and confident. Okay, all right. But if you ask those two questions, what are you afraid will happen? And what do you want from me? Ask that of that subpersonality as if it were another person and see what it says. That perfectionist, right? If you say, what were you afraid will happen? You'll make a mistake. What do you want from me? I want you to be proud of who you are and what you do. I want you to not be disappointed. Ask that person, what do you want from me? Number four, invite in your aligned self. This is the critical, most important point of what I'm sharing with you today. please take a breath and be ready for this. Number four, invite in your aligned self. That is the calm, compassionate, powerful you. You can call it your aligned self, your grounded self, your higher self, your inner self, whatever it is, you can call it. What would the most grounded part version of me say or do here? That's inviting that part of you, that knowing, grounded, right? That wise, the queen, the sovereign one to drive the bus. My sovereignty drives the bus. That means I'm aware of all parts of me. I love and honor all parts of me, even the parts of me I don't like very much. I love and honor them as ways to help me succeed. And they're all invited to the bus. They just don't get to drive. I drive the bus. I'm the queen. I drive the bus. The sovereign one of me drives the bus. Invite in your aligned self. Number five, practice before performance. Before the donor meeting, before the big event, before you have to step on stage, what parts of me, ask yourself, what parts of me might show up here? What do they need to feel safe? And thinking about what they need to feel safe. And when you answer those questions, right, you will be in alignment. And I'm just going to let that land for a minute. And I want you to understand that checking in before something scary, a big meeting, a big ask, anything, understanding and calling in that higher part of yourself, seeing who else is showing up, right? And what parts of what subpersonalities might be showing up, and what do they need to feel safe? Is that child showing up because she's afraid? Ask, okay, then what does she need to feel safe? Unconditional love. Maybe it's no matter what they say, I'm still worthy, I'm still valuable. Whatever it is, right? I want you to take notice because ultimately we want to fundraise with your full self. Your whole team gets to come. Everybody on the bus gets to show up. Can you imagine like coming into a meeting and it's like you sitting there and like 12 people behind you, all dressed like in all looking and playing the part of the subpersonalities behind you? That's literally what it's like. And now that you're aware of this, you can actively choose with intention who's going to show up and why. But your sovereign one, right? Your grounded one leads, and your grounded one says, oh, now it's time for my rebel. Now it's time for my perfectionist, right? Okay, so fundraising just isn't about what you do, it's about who is doing it. When your internal team is aligned, okay, fundraising feels easier, more authentic, and way more effective. So this week, I invite you to start noticing who is driving the bus when you make the ask. And what would it feel like to let your aligned self take the wheel? Just start with those questions, okay? Um, None of these parts are bad, okay? Each one exists to protect you, remember, and to help you succeed. You get to choose. You get to choose. And so here's your assignment. If you choose to accept it, is again, thinking about, okay, whoa, I'm feeling the trigger. Who is showing up right now? And like the big scary thing is that the child that just wants to get under your desk and hide, that's perfectly okay for them to show up. But we're gonna ask like, hey, who's here and what do you want from me? Like, or sorry, I asked that question wrong. Let me get back to my note. Oh gosh. Oh, no, no. Um, Sorry. I lost my spot. Okay. All right, sorry. What part of me is here right now? Right? And what were you afraid to happen? And what do you want from me? Sorry, I lost my note. What are you afraid to happen? What do you want from me? Start paying attention to who's showing up and when. And again, there's no judgment. They're all valid. They're all worthy of love. They're all a loving, beautiful part of you. No one is broken. No one needs to be eradicated or fixed because first you can't. Okay. They are a part of you. These are things that are hardwired into me that aren't going to change and I don't need to change them and I shouldn't have to change them. And you are perfect. No one is broken. No one needs to be fixed. We're just going to understand what's going on the inside so we can intentionally cultivate something different. Because if you keep showing up in the same way, no matter what you say, no matter what script you have, no matter what template you have, you will get the same results. Because ultimately, energy speaks louder than words, and how you show up is more important than what you say or what you do. Who you bring forth is so much more important than the pitch, the brochure, anything else. And we have been taught that if we have the right words, right, and we have this not understanding that these parts of ourselves can subtly or not so subtly be sabotaging us. Okay, you got it? You in? Okay. So that's it for me in this episode of the Influential Nonprofit. Go forth and play with your subpersonalities. Shoot me an email, Maryanne@courageouscommunication.com. Send me a note. I would love, love, love to hear how this resonated with you, if you tried it, if you've worked with anything like this before. And maybe even think about playing with this with your team, with your actual team or your board, and just have some fun. Subpersonalities are really interesting. There can also be really, really fun thing to work with and play with, but super, super insightful and helpful. All right, I'll see you next time on the Influential Nonprofit. Oh, and if you would like me to come and maybe speak with the group, facilitate some higher understanding, you can also just shoot me an email, Maryanne@courageouscommunication.com. I'd be happy to share how I work with you to help you raise more money more easily. That's it. See you next time.